I think we may have an early contender for one of the best movies of 2026. Hi, welcome back to the channel. It's Adam here, and today we are talking about Project Hail Mary, the film adaptation from the best-selling novel by Andy Weir, starring Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller. We are currently living in a world that constantly feels like it's one catastrophe away from complete combustion, and it's only natural that the art of that time reflects the anxiety and dread that comes with it. However, it feels so rare that we get a piece of art marinating on the existential dread of our world that feels so unabashedly hopeful regardless of that dread permeating it. And I think Project Hail Mary somehow honors all of it. It validates this intense isolation that comes in crisis while also championing the power of connection and intention and hope. The film opens with science teacher Rylan Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, waking up on a spaceship with zero recollection as to how or why he is there. His other two crew members died in transit, and he is the sole passenger on this spaceship light years away from home. Slowly but surely, Ryland rediscovers his mission as his memory returns, and he must figure out how to stop this mysterious substance that is causing the sun to die out before everything on Earth goes extinct. As he's recalibrating and trying to figure out how to continue his mission alone, he discovers he is not alone at all. He forges a friendship with an alien being named Rocky, who is trying to save his own planet from the same fate. This is directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the directing duo behind the Lego Movie 21 and 22 Jump Street. They are also the writers of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and the upcoming Beyond the Spider-Verse. And they are teaming up with Drew Goddard, who adapted The Martian, also based on a book by Andy Weir. He's also responsible for Cabin in the Woods, Bad Times at the El Royale. This is a trio who is no stranger to ambitious, envelope-pushing storytelling. They really love to kind of play with expectations and genre and swing for the fences with their storytelling. I know Lord and Miller have a reputation for more of like their comedy work, so I was very interested to see how this would unfold. And I think this trio is really reaching for the stars here. It's their biggest undertaking yet, but I think much like Rylan Grace, they really rise to the occasion beautifully. Lord and Miller are creating a sensory experience, I think, first and foremost. They're dropping the audience right into the state of frenzy and disorientation from the minute Rylan Grace opens up his eyes. We have these crooked angles and shaky cameras, and it's suffocating. It's a suffocating sense of pandemonium. The audience is right there with Rylan trying to get their bearings. I think the suffocation dissipates as the scope of space unfolds, but the sheer magnitude is no less dizzying and overwhelming and awe-inspiring. The camera's spinning, shots are framed upside down, and even when everything is still, they don't feel quite grounded, you know? None of it, though, feels gimmicky. It's all very in service of immersion and grandeur. As Ryland's exploration continues, Lord and Miller's vision of outer space morphs from something terrifying into something so breathtaking. It's wearing its influences on the sleeve. You know, there's a lot of like 2001: A Space Odyssey vibes. There's, you know, some elements of Gravity here. I don't think they're shy about that, but I think they're really taking on and creating something memorable and defining for this movie-going generation. Much like the tone of the film, outer space is simultaneously haunting and intoxicating. It's bouncing back and forth and holding the duality. It's awash in the dazzling, vibrant colors, and it's accompanied by a Daniel Pemberton score that sounds like curiosity, right? This version of outer space carries a dash of whimsy that envelopes you in wonder. You can't help but like be in awe of this. I was like smiling, jaw open anytime there was a space sequence, which is saying something for me because I hate space. Space is so scary to me. I don't do well in space movies, but this just had me so locked in. Lord and Miller made a decision to forego any use of green screen, and they never allow the grandeur of the environment to get away from them, actually. There's this tactility coursing through the film, and it ties this visceral vision back into focus. It's not overflowing with these digital eyesores that we've grown accustomed to with modern blockbuster filmmaking. There's just like a lot of love and care on display with the craftsmanship, and I think this film is all the better for it. It really pays off in droves. Even like the space sequences, they filmed on these like sound stages with like these black backgrounds, and yes, they added in like the planet stuff, like the space stuff, the stars with VFX later, but I just think the practical lighting and using that practical space like just makes it all the better. I don't know. For as vivid and vast as the space sequences are though, the story is really tethered to a place of pathos by Grace's memories from Earth. They're integrated using tiny transportive details woven in at first as fragments before becoming something tangible. Chris Dickens, the editor, like effortlessly takes us between timelines using these sharp match cuts. Sometimes it's just like the way he's sitting in a chair. It's sometimes like the touch of something. I think it flows back and forth beautifully, and it's not hard to like keep up with. As long as you are watching the movie, you shouldn't have a hard time. I think despite all this pomp and circumstance on display, there are moments I almost yearn to be back on Earth. I think that is where a lot of the soul of this movie lives. I was very interested in figuring out why Grace is there, why he was chosen for this, how he came to be involved in Project Hail Mary. It's a true testament that in a film with all these gorgeously designed planets and ships and pulse-pounding action, the stuff on the ground is just as interesting and compelling. Of course, this film does not work if it has bad performances, and Ryan Gosling is delivering one of his strongest turns as a leading man to date here. His signature sarcasm is on full display once more, alongside some brilliant fish-out-of-water physicality that a silent movie star would kill for. I think he's really having fun with the physicality of being in space and playing with that journey as well. However, the silliness is accompanied with something much deeper and more raw. Ryland Grace is really grappling with the idea of bravery throughout the film and the weight of what it means to be brave. I think Ryan Gosling really understands that bravery is not the absence of fear, rather it's being afraid and doing the thing anyway and reaching like your full capability in spite of frightening circumstances. And I think his performance really plays with that. It shifts into this remarkable territory where he is visibly wrestling with his fear and his desire and almost duty to be brave. He crafts a character so utterly human who's forced to undergo impossible circumstances. It's really winning stuff. I was really enraptured with him. Ryland Grace is roped into these impossible circumstances by Eva Stratt, played by Sandra Hüller, the head of Project Hail Mary. Sandra Hüller is tasked with tricky work here. I think she makes it look like a walk in the park, though. Eva is kind of a steely opposition to Ryland Grace's warm demeanor. He's adorkable and silly and a little down on his luck, whereas she is seemingly all business and very difficult to read. Hüller has this really dry delivery that amps up the comedy as Ryland Grace attempts to crack her. It's a good like back and forth duo banter that they've got. The most impressive moment of her performance though comes with a karaoke performance of Harry Styles' A Sign of the Times. On the surface it may feel a little silly and out of nowhere for this no nonsense character to belt out a power ballad by Harry Styles, but I think it's a sneaky, heartbreaking moment as Eva's internal conflict becomes very apparent. This woman is spearheading a project to save her entire planet, and it's a noble effort. But in constructing this mission, she's asking people to give up the remainder of their lives. She is asking people to go to space and never return and really make a huge sacrifice. Sandra Hüller coats this moment in a weird mixture of joy and intense melancholy. She's holding space for joy in the face of sobering reality. She recognizes these people need this joy right now, but she's taking it all in and really grappling with the weight of why they are together in the first place. It's equal parts necessary and futile, and only a performer of her caliber could make a moment like that so cutting emotionally. The true emotional center of the film comes in the form of Ryland Grace's alien companion, Rocky. Rocky is puppeteered and voiced by James Ortiz. I know him mostly from his puppet work on Broadway with Into the Woods, his most recent revival. He puppeteers and voices Rocky with this infectious gusto. You really can't help but fall in love with him from the jump. Ryan Gosling's chemistry with the puppet is mind-bogglingly palpable. It's kind of insane how good it is, and they have this beautiful banter. It feels believable and you really buy into this friendship they have. It's inherently silly, but it's also honest and rooted in something beautifully real. The success of Rocky as a character goes back to Lord and Miller's decision to opt in for the practical effects. He feels alive because he kind of is. His physical presence enhances every scene he's in. I think some people are going to roll their eyes at this idea of a movie about Ryan Gosling befriending a rock and saving the world. And it may feel overtly saccharine or ridiculous, but I think Rocky and Ryland's dynamic is the crux of the film. It's what makes the film ultimately feel triumphant in the face of despair. And maybe it's because I experienced this movie with one of my best friends who like completely changed my life, but I did find this relationship to be profoundly moving. I think it's so easy to isolate while the world falls apart around you. But the beauty of connection and friendship is that it can come from anywhere at any time, and it can profoundly change your life and how you see yourself and what you're capable of. And it makes these moments of crisis livable. Lord and Miller crafted a defining space epic for this generation. But I think beyond that, Project Hail Mary is about connection in the face of crisis. This all means nothing if there's nothing to fight for and no one to fight alongside. Lord and Miller succeed with Project Hail Mary because it understands the intricate experience of being alive. The experience of this film is larger than life, but it's also deeply human. The comedy is broad, it's silly, but it never detracts from the omnipresent existential dread. And in being so confrontational of the darkness, they allow the light of the human spirit to trickle onto the screen. You feel a little braver than you were when you walked into the theater. I really adored this movie. I could not believe how much I loved this movie. It's beautiful from like a technical perspective. It emotionally walloped me. I think this is a pure example of why we go to the movies. I'm already planning to see it on 70 millimeter when it comes out. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is easily like my favorite movie of the year so far. You must check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you do all the things you're supposed to do with a YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, follow me everywhere, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!